help you kill Judith. She'll be in the chapel alone later. You can kill her there because I don't like her. Because apparently Judith made Penny get an abortion at some point. So
I think it was implied like multiple abortions.
Because oh yeah, you're right. She did kind of say that you know, occasionally one happens or whatever. So yeah. So she drops the dime that you can find Judith in the chapel, but ultimately, you know, because she was having sex with the guards in exchange for smuggling the dope in, she got pregnant a few times and had to abort, and is unhappy with Judith for that. So I don't have a whole lot to say about that, except to say I learned a very interesting fact today. Danielle Panabaker, who plays Penny, has webbed feet.
Okay.
This is not a joke. There's no joke here. She has webbed feet. She's one of the people of the famous people who have webbed feet. I did not know that.
Huh. Is that like what's her name? Megan Fox with the ugly thumb? Is that,
I don't know. Does Megan Fox have an ugly thumb? I don't think I knew this.
Oh yeah, there's like I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but she doesn't like her. There's something wrong with her thumbs.
Oh, okay.
They're just not.
They're just not photogenic or whatever.
That's the word. The ugliest part of her body, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Google it. Go Google it right now.
The ugliest part of Megan Fox's body? I'm not sure what's going to come up if I Google that.
Look, it even pre-filled. I typed in Megan Fox, and one of the things on the Google is like that came up with Megan Fox's thumb.
All right. So apparently there's a whole bunch of celebrities who have webbed feet, which I thought was really interesting.
That is.
Yeah. It's an interesting little list of people. But Danielle Panabaker was on that list. And I thought that was interesting because we happened to be recording tonight. I was just listening to something that talked about that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Anyway.
Don't find her on Foot Finder or whatever that is.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm guessing that there's this very specific subset, and that's a very coveted sort of mutation, I would guess, in that specific subset. So anyway, so Penny drops the dime that Ava can go kill Judith in the chapel, and the next time we see Ava, she's going to the chapel to kill Judith. There's this whole like roll around and talk to each other and roll around and stab and this whole thing. But ultimately Ava murders Judith. And the comment that I have two comments on this. The first is, how does nobody hear that struggle in the chapel? Are there no guards in this prison? I mean, it was prolonged and loud. They were knocking over furniture.
Yeah.
I don't know how nobody interrupts this, but beyond that, it is absolutely wild to me that we have the Ava murdering Judith in the same episode that Danny Crow falls on his own knife. And one of those feels so much more meaningful than the other one. It's amazing how big of a difference you felt in the importance of what just happened. Like Danny Crow dying versus Ava killing Judith. It's night and day how unimportant Judith getting killed in prison feels compared to Danny Crow falling on his knife.
Yeah, well, you've never been a fan of the plot line, that whole so that's part of it, right? So
yeah, and I suppose maybe some of it comes from, like, oh, well, you have to see how this is going to affect Ava and how this is going to change her. I don't feel like that. I mean, they never pay that off in the show. If that's indeed what they're going for, but the other piece of it is I don't think it matters. I think at this point, I mean, Ava has done enough murder in her career. I don't think she feels anything anymore when she does it. I mean,
she has a taste for it now.
She really does. I mean, she hasn't killed as many people as Boyd, but I mean, it's not exactly she's closing the gap. So I don't know. I have a hard time with that plot line. I have a hard time with the level of importance that they put on that scene. I mean, that was a very extended action scene of them wrestling around on the floor of that chapel in a life or death struggle. That felt completely irrelevant. So
you think that the Heavenly Mother or whatever what was her title?
Heavenly Mother or something like that.
Yeah. And then she's in a church or she go an hour every week or whatever. And she wouldn't be like, find a way to like, I don't know, like not have that her Penny have an abortion or abortions, you know, like I wonder. Well, wow. I mean, other than it being the front for bringing the drugs,
right? It's a money laundering operation, right? Or it's not actual religion. I mean, she does believe in something, but what she believes in is a construct that she has created in her own mind that she calls God. That has her morality in it. That's what she believes in.
Yeah, so,
I think a lot of people do that. Not just her. I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And so Ava whacks Judith and gets back to the bedding area. And wait, did she do that in this episode? Did she go back to the bedding area with the blood all over her? And they come through. No, they don't. That's the next one. Okay.
I think that's the next one because I think she just takes off her her top.
Yeah. Yeah.
The blood.
She's drenched in blood, and it's just.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so that's the end of the Ava plotline for this episode. Let's talk about Jimmy and Boyd and Dewey Crow. So Jimmy's pushing back on Boyd a little bit. It's funny because at the beginning of this scene, Jimmy is clearly not in a mood for any of Boyd's bullshit. And Boyd is asking him to go do something. And Jimmy's like, yeah, whatever, man, whatever we're going to do next, I'm sure that'll work. And Boyd's like, hey, you need to start, you need to get in line a little bit here. We need to get the situation under control.
He needs cheering up.
Yeah.
Because after all the bodies and everything else that he's gone through, he's like set down.
He's just mopey. You know the Keanu Reeves meme where he's on a bench eating a sandwich. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
That's Jimmy in this scene. So while they're there, and then Daryl, of course, comes in, and he's a tornado of a human being, making a bunch of noise and not answering questions and misleading on the story. And ultimately, Dewey calls before Daryl can break the news to him that Dewey has made off with their heroin and his money. And I have a clip of that phone call, and it's one of my favorite Dewey Crow moments.
Dewey Crow, you just about qualify as the most sought-after man in Harlan County. Where in the hell are you, son?
I tell you where I'm at, Boyd. I'm sitting high on that fabled catbird seat. How you like that?
I don't care where you sit, as long as it's close to my dining room table, because I'm getting awful hungry.
Listen up, Boyd. I got your shit. I got it all. Well, I mean, I got half of it. But it's the whole half. Anyways, right now, it's mine. I could light off to Canada or Wyoming or some shit, and you never see it again.
Well, you could, but I wouldn't advise it. Now, what's your co-pilot have to say about that?
Oh, Danny? No, I ditched his ass outside Parkersville.
Parkersville? Parkersville.
Look, this conversation is just you and me.
Hold on, Dewey. I'm gonna put you on speakerphone. Go ahead.
This is how it's gonna be. You all gonna bring me $250,000 in cash, which is what I'm owed for the whorehouse. Daryl can have all this. I don't care. I just want my money and get the hell out of here.
Well, I guess I only have two questions. Where and when?
When is today. Before dark. I want to get out here by sunset.
Well, that's an awful lot of money on such short notice.
Well, I know it's a lot of money, but guess what? I don't give a shit. Find a way. And where? Well, I won't tell you when you call me back saying you got my money. Not so funny now, am I, boy?
You hear me laughing, son?
Well, I'll be waiting on your call. Thank you.
Dewey not knowing how to end the call is just so great. It's like he's such a hard ass, and yet he's like, I'll be waiting on your call. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a pleasant afternoon.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I do like how consistent Dewey is, though, right? He just wants his $250,000 back. He's like the dude. He just wanted his rug back. That's all he wanted.
Yeah, that's all he wanted.
Dewey just wanted his whorehouse. That's all he wanted, was to have his pool party with his whores that belonged to him. And they robbed him of his dream, and he just was trying to get his dream back. Good old Dewey. I love being extorted by an idiot. It's just so funny. And Boyd, of course, knowing full well, okay, I'm not going to argue with this guy because he's a moron. So I'm just going to tell him, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And then we'll find out where and when, and we'll figure out what to do next because he's an idiot. So of course we'll be able to figure out what to do next. But ultimately, Boyd makes the Dewey situation Daryl Crow Jr.'s problem because he says, "Hey, look, this is your situation. You set out to rip me off. You failed to do so. You got ripped off yourself, and you're gonna have to figure this out. This is your problem. And if you don't, you're gonna face some of the consequences too." Because sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that's the proper move anyway. I mean, it's not his. I mean, it's a Crow problem because he's in charge of the transport.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. But at the same time, Boyd has to. I mean, he got that money. He got those drugs on consignment. Like he's in trouble if he can't get those drugs back. So it's not great.
Not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob. So, I mean, if you're Boyd, you take an interest. I see what you're saying, right? You're essentially saying, look, Boyd's the CEO of this operation. He can't worry about a delivery that didn't get made to a customer. He's got to focus on the big picture. The problem is if that delivery doesn't get made, there is no big picture for Boyd. So you're going to give it to your VP of transportation, who, by the way, has yet to successfully do anything for you. I mean, aside from killing people.
Yeah.
You're not going to entrust him with that, right? You're going to very closely supervise what he's doing. You're not just going to say, fix my problem or fix your problem and walk away. And I think this is where Picker makes a lot of sense because we immediately see a scene between Wynn Duffy and Picker talking about Boyd and the Crows, and we get Wynn Duffy essentially defending Boyd. And it's an interesting scene because Picker can't comprehend why Duffy continues to kind of defend Boyd. I have to admit, I'm kind of on the same page. Like, obviously, they know that Boyd didn't set out to rip them off. That's not part of the conversation, right? It's not, they don't think that Boyd intentionally stole or lost this heroin shipment from them. They don't believe that.
Yeah.
They just think Picker thinks he's grossly incompetent and not capable of doing what they need done. Wynn seems to think that Boyd is competent and capable of doing it, despite no evidence to the contrary. So why is it that Wynn is willing to hitch his wagon to Boyd?
Maybe it goes back to the whole thing where he finds that place exhausting.
That could be. Know? Yeah. And he's sort of like, Boyd is sort of your translator. Like he's the Obama anger translator for Harlan, right?
Who knows with Wynn though? You're right. I mean, like as we find out further on in this episode, he has to make some hard choices and he has to bring outside counsel
right.
to do it. So
yeah, he does bring in Catherine Hale to kind of help him with that evaluation here. After this conversation, he goes and recruits Catherine Hale to come in and help and talk to Boyd and Picker and evaluate which of them is the right partner. And it feels, what does she say? You're caught between a Detroit rock and a shit kicker hard place. And he kind of is, except it seems over and over again that Wynn's casting his lot with Boyd. But, But yeah, to talk about that moment for a second with Catherine Hale, because Catherine Hale becomes so important in season 6.